We had a youth who had a lot of really challenging, sometimes unsafe behaviors. This is in the detention system where we, as psychologists, were also doing training on trauma. We were using Think Trauma to educate all the staff, all the leaders, everybody in the detention system about trauma and its impact. And so this youth was what they would call in our detention setting, sticking it up in the medical area, refusing to go back into his room. So it was myself and another clinician, a psychiatrist, and a couple of other mental health clinicians sort of in the background. And then you had some of the detention staff that was sort of around. And we, as the mental health people, were sort of trying to help him feel safe or safer because it was clear that as his behavior started to escalate, right, you could tell he was starting to feel more and more unsafe. And there was a particularly unhelpful person off to the side who was starting to yell at him about, like, we're going to get security, we're calling security. And he started to take his shirt off, which means in detention that it's about to go down. Things are not going to go well from here. And one of the supervisors was off to my side. I see and hear the security officers start to come. I hear their keys like clanging. They're about to open the door, like burst into the medical suite, which we all knew what was going to happen when that happened, right? His behaviors were going to escalate. They were going to end up having to restrain him, and no good things were going to come from any of this. So I kind of quickly looked to the side to this. He was actually more than a supervisor. I think he was actually like a tour commander. So one of the higher ups who had just taken our training looked over and just give us 5 minutes. I'm telling you, we can de-escalate this youth. He will not have to do anything security wise. We got this. You know, we got this. And he looked at me and he's like, you have 5 minutes. So we turned back to the kid and he held the security officers at bay. So this youth saw and heard them coming. And we said to him, look, like, we've stopped them from coming. It's just us here, right? Let's talk this through. We know this is what you want. This is what we're trying to achieve. And we tried to really narrow down what was his goal, what was our goal, and how could we get there together without this turning into something worse. And we were able to de-escalate him and we were able to get him back in his room. And it was just such a perfect example of, like, in a split second, how the trust between, the mental health staff and this, high up supervisor who really at any moment could have just let the security staff come in. That was also completely within his purview. Just by giving us a few minutes to create a sense of safety and not let happen what we knew was about to happen, it made such a huge difference. That situation, probably knowing that kid, would have turned into an incident. He would have been rearrested. Staff would have been hurt. So that's just one, I think, powerful example just of how, the knowledge, the training, and then it's not just the knowledge and training. Everybody also has to work together and trust each other, right? That, like, within these different disciplines, we got this.